welcome back to Art Show at Home. It's me, Eliza, and I'm here with my mom, Eve, also known as Art Teacher Eve. Today we're going to be teaching you how to do value shading and cross-hatching, and we're also teaching you this cool abstract piece of art. But the first thing we're going to do is my mom is going to teach you how to do value shading. So let's see her.
Hi everybody. All right, so today we're going to start with the basics in art. One of the basics is knowing value. Here's a value scale that shows 0 to 5. If something has no value, it means it has no color. And when it has 5, it's quite dark. So I'm going to show you the trick to doing this. So you're going to start with a pencil. You're going to have nothing in the 0 area, okay? And then very, very lightly, I'm barely touching the paper, I'm going to start to fill in my 1 section. Now to fill in my 2, I'm not really using much more pressure, maybe a little bit, but the key thing here is that I'm gonna go over it more than one time so that it gets darker little by little. And you can also use your pointer finger as a blender to get rid of some of those lines and to make your darkness look like it's a gradual turn. So now I'm going to the 3, and so this time, again, maybe a little bit more pressure, but the idea is that I'm layering. The reason for layering, if you ever make a mistake, if you layer, you can actually erase it quite easily. But if you're burnishing, if you're using a lot of pressure, it becomes very difficult to erase. So you'll see that with each new shade, it's becoming darker and darker. Shade is the root word of shadow, and I always think that a shadow is really dark. And that's one of the reasons that when I'm teaching my students, they remember shade, like a shadow. And so then when I get over to the number 5, I'm going to start using a little more pressure, and I'm going to use a trick that's called burnishing. Burnishing means I'm really pushing on the paper as I put my color down, and it also creates a shine look. So if I hold this paper up, you might see a little bit of a shine. So here's a basic value scale from 0 to 5. Now Eliza is going to teach you some cross-hatchings. So Eliza, you ready to join us?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So let's have a look. Eliza, can you explain what cross-hatching is?
Cross-hatching is a technique to add texture and value, or shading, pretty much. So the first way to cross-hatch is you're just gonna go up in a zigzaggy motion, and then you're just gonna go sideways.
Now if you notice, this adds a little bit of texture, and it also darkens the color. So you may or may not use this method on the project, but it's a good one to have in your bag of tricks.
For the next one, and this is my favorite way to cross-hatch, you go up in a zigzaggy motion, and then you also go sideways in a zigzaggy motion, so it looks pretty much the same as how you did it first. But then you go diagonal, and then you go diagonal again in the opposite way.
Now again, the idea is that you're building up pencil marks. You could do this with colored pencil, you could do this with crayon, you could do this with marker or pen. It's just giving you a little bit of a different texture effect, a different look as you complete your projects. I encourage my students when they have things to color in with really, really large areas, instead of letting your hand get tired and ending up with a scribble motion, to do cross-hatching instead. All right, Eliza, can you take the camera and we'll move on to the next step? So right now, I'm going to teach everyone how to create this abstract piece of art. And if you notice, you look at it, you'll see lots of value shading, lots of shading from light to dark. So I'm going to show you step 1, and I'm going to get this started, and then Eliza's going to take over for me. So the first thing you're going to do is what I call a string line. So you're going to make a line that has a lot of little loops in it. And you also want it to touch the edges every so often. You don't want to overdo your scribble line, but you want to divide your paper into quite a few sections when you do this. And then what you're going to do one piece at a time is you're going to do value shading. Now it's up to you if you start light to dark or dark to light, but what I'm going to do is treat each little piece as a puzzle piece. So this is going to be my light end where I have basically nothing at the start, and I'm very, very lightly going up and down. And then I want to get to like my number 2. I want to get a little darker, so I'm layering my pencil mark, my graphite from my pencil. And I want to get to the number 3. So again, maybe a little bit more pressure. I'm trying to be pretty consistent with my pencil motion, darker, 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 till I get over here to the edge. And when I'm at that edge point, I want it nice and dark. Now to clean this up a little bit, what I'm gonna do is use my pointer finger and do a rubbing motion. And I'm also going to make sure that my outline is nice and crisp for my shape. And then I'm gonna keep repeating this process all the way through. So Eliza, do you think you could fill in one more shape for us right now?
Yeah. So this way I'm gonna go dark to light. So I'm gonna do more pressure.
Notice she's trying to stay within the lines and layers, Eliza. Lots of layers. Show them how to do layers in those dark areas. Again, as you go backwards, she's going backwards from how I did it. She's going from dark to light. You're barely touching the paper. At the end, you are going to use your finger to do a little bit of blending. Try to blend in the same motion that you were doing before as you originally started. And again, in that darker zone, do you think you could darken it even a little bit more? And very carefully maybe outline your edges to clean it up. As long as you apply your pencil in lots of layers, you can actually use an eraser if it ever gets too dark and pull back that negative space again. Now we're going to keep working on this. In just a minute, I'm going to show you a finished one. You have the option of either filling in just the shapes that you see on the inside or filling in absolutely everything. Those areas that were white on the outside, you can fill in the negative space there. And again, this is just an abstract piece of art with the practice of value shading. Feel free to choose a paper whatever size you'd like. Eliza, can you say goodbye to everybody today?
Goodbye, and always remember to stay creative.